Should be rolling now.
Rolling, sweet.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Rhodes, and you're listening to the Shuttlecock podcast. We're sponsored by the Vinyl Underground at 7th Heaven, offering new and used vinyl at 76 and Troost in Kansas City, Missouri. Today on the show, we have Cole3k. How are you doing?
What's up? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Just fine.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I think we have a lot to cover because you have been making music for a pretty solid amount of time now.
Yeah, quite a while.
But yeah, I guess where I usually start though is what kind of music were you listening to growing up? Like, was your family showing you stuff? Did you just find stuff on the internet? What was like getting into music like for you?
Yeah, so growing up, I grew up in a pretty like musical household. My dad has been in bands throughout his whole life. And now he works at a church and he does kind of the music direction there. So he's been a pretty big influence for me. So I grew up listening to, I don't know, a whole range of different stuff, a lot of like jazz, a lot of like my dad, when I was pretty young, he kind of introduced me to a lot of like electronic stuff. I think that's probably what ended up inspiring the most. I also grew up playing classical piano, which I didn't really listen to too much classical music, but I played quite a bit of it. So yeah, kind of a mix of a lot of different things, but I would say like the big thing that really started influencing me as a kid was, yeah, like the more electronic kind of ambient stuff that my dad would show me. So yeah, that's kind of like what I grew up listening to, like prior to my teen years. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's kind of interesting because I knew your dad was the pastor at Jacob's Well.
Yep.
And he was involved in doing music and stuff there, but I wouldn't have guessed that he had a big interest in like electronic and like ambient stuff, because I feel like the go-to is kind of just rock and pop and stuff if you're involved with music at a church.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really expect it either. I feel like one night we were just driving home from somewhere, I think probably like basketball practice or something. And he was like, I don't know why, but I feel like you would like this. And I think he put on some like Brian Eno or something like that. And I was just like, yes, this is very cool. And then like, I don't know, he ended up showing me this other guy named Burial, who's like a UK kind of like ambient guy. I don't know. And yeah, I just like for some reason connected with it. And I don't know. Yeah, it is kind of surprising since he does work at a church, but he's kind of like, he loves all different kinds of stuff. So I was pretty lucky to be able to grow up with like an influence like that who kind of like showed me all that stuff at a young age, and kind of got me into it. So pretty cool.
Is that like a type of music that he's ever made himself, or because I don't think I've listened to any of his own music. What does that sound like?
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't ever really like done the whole like electronic ambient thing, but in a lot of like his stuff that he does, he incorporates like pieces of that. He likes all that kind of like experimental stuff. And so, yeah, I think, I don't know. And he grew up, like when he was in college, he was in more of kind of like grunge bands and stuff like that. So he's always been in kind of like that kind of like, I don't know, more experimental or whatever kind of world. So he definitely tries to like incorporate a lot of that kind of stuff. Actually, it was funny, a few weeks ago, he had written a song, and he was like, hey, I want you to like do a remix or something for me. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of like took what he had done and then like put my own spin on it or whatever. So, but we've had kind of like a collaborative relationship in that sense for a while, because we are both into that kind of like more experimental stuff and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
No, and his band is called Mike Crawford and the Secret Siblings.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like I don't know, it's him. He does like all the songwriting and everything like that. And then it's a very like collaborative thing. So he'll bring a lot of different people together to do different stuff. And I played like piano and done like some synth parts on some of those projects as well. So
And
yeah.
is the music that he's making in that band kind of related to religion and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
is that kind of its own thing?
Yes, it's definitely like kind of, I guess you would categorize it as worship music. I Yeah, it's definitely got that religious spin on it. But I think, I mean, he does a really cool thing with it that I don't think a lot of people in that kind of world are doing. So even though I'm not particularly like super religious, I like really respect it and like to collaborate with him in that way. Just because like the music is great that he does. So I don't know, it's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've been releasing your own music since, okay, so I think the first thing on like your old Bandcamp page is from 2011. So how old would you have been at that point?
Let me think. That was like 9 years ago. I guess I must have been like, yeah, 15, I
Mm.
guess. 14, 15. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
around the time when I started really messing around with stuff. Yeah.
yeah, no, and I don't know, I listened to like a few songs from that Bandcamp page, and it's funny because I feel like when you're a kid usually and making music, you're basically just like copying whatever you're really excited about.
Yeah.
But I feel like it just looking through some of those songs, like that didn't really sound like whatever was like popular at the time. So I guess like pretty early on, you did want to be making that electronic stuff yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when so basically when I turned 13, my dad, again, he, kind of got me, I had like a computer and stuff, but he got me like a MIDI keyboard and and like some software to like record on. And so I kind of started at like 13 doing that kind of stuff. And I was listening to a lot of these two guys named Hudson Mohawk and Rusty, and they're both like these Scottish dudes.
Yeah.
One of them is like, he works a lot with like Kanye. But they do like a lot of electronic stuff, kind of like that fusion of like electronic and hip hop stuff. And so I was like very inspired by all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yes, this is the kind of thing that I want to be doing. So yeah, that was kind of where I was at that point.
Oh yeah, that's cool because I figure like I know I think Hudson Mohawk kind of got like a big boost around like when Yeezus came out. Like he worked on some of Yeezus,
Yep,
but
exactly.
what was he on like previous Kanye stuff too?
He did, I think he did some work on, I think he may have done like a few things on, what was it? I guess maybe that was his first, because he
Or
did a
maybe
few
like
things
Dark
on.
Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah, he may have done a few things on Dark Twisted Fantasy, but I think Yeezus definitely, he had like some beats on there that, yeah. So
Oh yeah, it's cool. I just think that's probably like
yeah,
some it sounds like a little advanced for something that like someone who's like a teenager is like I don't think I knew anything about like those types of producers when I was that young. So
yeah, yeah. And I had a friend, actually like one of my best friends growing up. We moved onto the same street when we were both like 6 years old, and so we just grew up together. But he was like my other outlet for like music stuff. Like, my dad being a little bit more religious didn't show me all the like, rap and more explicit stuff. But I had my friend, and he was always just like, pirating a ton of music and stuff like that, just like downloading whatever was coming up on whatever sites he was on. And so he was always like sending me music as well and getting me more into like, I guess more the like hip hop rap stuff. So yeah, so I was definitely being inspired by the whole like electronic thing, but then also a lot of like the rap stuff too. So
um yeah, so you released stuff under your own name on Bandcamp for a few years, and then I think what year was so you did that until like 2014, and then a couple years later you started doing Alliance.
yeah, yeah. That was like my kind of like, I guess like more ambient, kind of like calmer stuff. I was again listening to a lot of like Burial, and there's this other guy named Kid Simple. He's like he's not like super big or anything, but I was being very inspired by a lot of that, and like kind of I hadn't really messed with a lot of like vocal samples and stuff like that before. But on that Alliance project, I was like doing a lot of different stuff of just different vocal samples that I had found online, and trying to make like more ambient stuff with that. And so that was really fun. Honestly, that's probably, I mean, to this day, that's probably still one of my like favorite things that I've ever really done. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember enjoying that when it came out. Because
Yeah.
no, it's funny. I feel like I forget this at some points, but I think I'd met you at Andrew Johannesson's
Yeah.
house, like when he was having one of his Halloween shows.
Yeah. It was
And it
like
must
his
have been,
birthday.
yeah, it was like high school age, or
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah. That was like, I think that was when I was doing, that was like the era when I was doing like the Bandcamp stuff under my own name, I
Yeah.
believe. Cause it was probably when I was like, must have been when I was 15 or something like that when that happened. But I definitely do remember like meeting you, and I think like Andrew Kellison was there or something like that. And
Yeah,
like,
that sounds right.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. It was fun.
Were you performing anywhere at that age, or were you still just hanging out and just doing it like at your house?
That was like that thing at Andrews was like the first time that I had ever like performed. And then actually me and Andrew, we performed, I think a couple more times together, doing just some like, I think we performed, there's a local artist named John Rowe, and we did a performance at one of his like art shows one time. But yeah, I really hadn't done anything up until that, except I had been playing classical piano, so I'd done like performances like that before, but never anything with like all the electronic stuff and everything like that. So yeah.
What was it? I don't know if I would have seen you perform at that show. I remember meeting you there, but like, were you kind of just playing some of the stuff you'd made at home, or was it kind of like a DJ set type thing, or?
It was kind of, I don't know, I can't remember that well, but I remember it being like, I had basically this like giant like Casio keyboard. It wasn't like a MIDI keyboard or anything, but I think I had like loaded some like samples into it. And so I was like playing stuff live, like on the keyboard basically. And I think I had like some beats playing in the background too. But yeah, so it was kind of like one of those things. I don't know. It was probably pretty
No,
funny.
and real Olathe East heads, real California trailheads might know Embrace the Paradox. I think that was Andrew's project at the moment. He did a few performances of that. I think he did it at that party, and then I wasn't there for it, but I saw a video of him playing that at a talent show, either CT or Olathe East.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed by that. So.
Yeah. So awesome.
So no, and it's kind of funny, like even just going back and listening to like the Alliance stuff and your older stuff, it like just compared to what you're doing right now, it makes a lot of sense that like, did you feel like kind of prepared for this project, like with all the experience you've had up until this point?
Yeah, I guess so. Like what my feeling was, like basically going into 2020, I had done a few like vocal things myself, like very sparse. I think I had done like maybe one or two songs where I had like sung on them. But I had never really like embraced it or like really tried doing something with it. But I had been, like at that point, I was also like heavily involved in and still am in a project called Cousin Nancy, which is with Daniel Gum.
Yeah.
And he had been doing all the vocals for that and everything, and I'd just been doing beats. And so at the beginning of 2020, I had been working with him a lot, and I feel like I was just like, I was doing a lot of beats and stuff, and I was just like, there's something like, I felt like very prepared with all the beats and everything. But I was like, there's something else that I can do. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like start singing. And I was like, I didn't even have a microphone, so I was like messing around on my laptop mic. It didn't sound good or anything at first. But yeah, I was like, I felt pretty prepared with like my experience from the past, but I was just like missing something. And so, yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, because I was gonna ask about Cousin Nancy. It's mostly Daniel still doing a lot of the vocals on that, but
Yeah, we actually have one song out now that I did vocals on as well, and that was like at the very beginning of 2020 when I was just starting to like figure out my vocal stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it is like Daniel doing vocals, and that was like honestly that collaboration has been like probably one of the biggest things that helped me, because I think the missing piece with like my previous like beats and stuff like that and now was like figuring out like what kind of space to carve out for a vocalist.
yeah.
And so being involved with the Cousin Nancy project like really opened my eyes to like, okay, like here's what I can do, here's what I should do, here's what I shouldn't do, all that kind of stuff. Like just having a vocalist in mind, because previously I didn't really have that. I was like, okay, I need to fill all this space really well with just instruments and drums and all that kind of stuff. So it was probably like like my beats back then were way more dense probably, because they had to be, because there was no like vocals in them. So
yeah. No, yeah, I figure it's probably been a good like kind of stepping stone for like learning like how to like construct a solid pop song, because yeah, you were kind of just relying all on the instrumentals before.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, I mean, it's funny. I mean, yeah, a good pop song, has a good chorus and good verses and stuff like that. And I just didn't really have I grew up listening to that kind of stuff, but I didn't have a concept of how to really put it together until the Cousin Nancy stuff for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, because you also go back pretty far with Daniel.
Yeah, we've been like super, super good friends ever since like high school. We had been going to Jacob's Well, that church, together. I think we met in like early high school. And so we've been like really good friends ever since then. And I played like piano on a few of his projects and stuff like that. So we've always been collaborating, but it really started coming together when we started doing the Cousin Nancy stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you did some piano on his Reorient album,
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
accordion on 13 on one song.
Yep. Yeah. And then I did piano on 13 as well. I did piano, I think, on a couple songs on that as well. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that came out great. That was
Yeah.
probably one of my favorites this year.
Yeah. So good. And it's funny, he actually recorded that with my dad at Jacob's Well. That was where a lot of that happened too.
Yeah, so I'm sure you were just probably hanging out for it, weren't you?
Yeah. It was awesome. It was awesome to see the process. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and the recordings are really just crisp and like I don't know. I think there's a lot of like I feel like a lot of good negative space in those recordings. And
Yeah.
no, yeah. So your dad's a pretty talented engineer as well.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It was so cool to see, like, I mean, I wasn't there for a lot of it, but yeah, just seeing them work together, and me obviously growing up with my dad, so I knew like, okay, that's that relationship and that kind of like, I don't know. So very cool.
Does he record most of his own stuff or like other people also?
Yeah, he records all of his own stuff, and then he actually helped. I don't know if you know a guy named Noah Spencer, but he also did a project with him. So he does do that for a few other people. It's not like he's always recording bands and stuff like that, but he does do that. So, and he's very good at it. So.
Oh, yeah, so you had this experience like just kind of accompanying Daniel on some stuff, but what made you guys kind of want to make the jump and start making music like as a group kind of?
Yeah, it was actually probably, let me think. I guess it must have been like 3 years ago because it was like my senior year at college and I came home for winter break and I don't know, we had just been talking and he had put out like a little EP that was like a little bit more like electronic and beats and stuff like that. And he was like, I really like it, but I feel like you could do the beats better and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just sent him a beat one day. It was like super simple and stripped back. It was the beat for It Don't Mean a Thing, which is out right now. Um, but I sent him that and he came back in like 3 hours with something recorded. And I was just like, oh man, this is so good. Like, we just have to keep doing this. I don't know. It's kind of like a spontaneous thing. And we were like, oh yeah, let's like do a project over winter break or something like that. It obviously like didn't happen that quickly. But yeah, we just started like collaborating and then I went back to college and I would like send him just beats over email. And it's kind of funny um, because at first, I mean, basically until now, the process for it was like I would make a beat and then I would just email it to him and then he would do his stuff and then email it back. And it's funny because like even when I moved back home and we were like in the same city, we were still doing that. I don't know. I feel like for me, a lot of times I love collaborating with people, but I also like need my own space sometimes to like create effectively.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that kind of like worked out for us really well, just like doing that. And then like coming together to like hone in on everything. Now we've actually recently been meeting back up again and like doing some more stuff in person, which has been really fun too. But yeah, so that's kind of how the process happened. And then, a few years later, we've put out a few songs and stuff like that, but we are actively working still and we're trying to put out some more stuff soon. So yeah.
Awesome. No, yeah, and it's cool that I think like you were saying that this doing Cousin Nancy kind of helped you figure out like pop song structure and stuff like that a little better, and simultaneously, so like it's at that point it was like the poppiest thing that you had done, but simultaneously it was kind of like the most experimental thing that Daniel had done.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like you're both kind of just pushing each other in the opposite direction and kind of
Yeah.
meeting in the middle there.
Yeah, well, it was cool because of that, of like, yeah, we both, and it's funny because like, honestly, our musical taste, like what we listen to probably couldn't be further apart. We have like overlapping artists that we listen to, but like speaking in general, like we don't listen to the same stuff. But I think that's honestly cool because we both brought completely different things to the table and could like fit them together in a way that made sense. So I don't know, it was very healthy for both of us, I think.
Mm.
Um,
It was, or had there been any moments where like Daniel was like maybe wanting to do something more like straightforward, traditional, and like you had to kind of push him, or are you both kind of pretty open about
I mean,
uh, what you want to do with it?
yeah, for sure there were times, especially when like doing like final, kind of like trying to get everything finalized. I think in general, we would just like be like, okay, yeah, we're just vibing, we're just going and getting stuff done. But then when we would be putting together the final product, we'd be like, okay, do we want like a more simple like snare here or like a clap sound or whatever? And I would always be like, oh, I want it to be like louder and more obnoxious sounding and all that kind of stuff. And he'd kind of like rein it in. So I think it was like a healthy balance of like, you know, I don't know, just reining each other in, I guess, a little bit. So, but we definitely had moments like that, I think, as any band does, for sure. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I think like around the time you started putting out the Cole3k stuff, and or maybe just shortly before it, you've also done a few songs with Solomon.
yeah, that was another thing. Like that was right kind of before I started like doing my own vocals. And that was a huge experience for me I had this friend, Eli Netikoven, that had this kind of just space. It was like a space with a couple kind of studio areas. It was down here on like 39th and Troost area. And yeah, he would always just have people over, Solomon included. I don't know. And it was just like good energy. And it was like the first time that I had somebody kind of like rapping on my beats and stuff like that, which was another very like eye-opening thing for me. Similarly to like the pop stuff with Daniel, just like saying like, oh yeah, this person can like flow on my beats. And like, I don't know, it helped me figure out like where to like leave pockets for that kind of stuff for when somebody's like flowing more and stuff like that. So yeah, another like very cool experience for me, and something that like really inspired me to be like, okay, I want to do like my own vocals on this stuff. And I don't know, yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, I know, because I know the song "Forever" that you worked on is out now with Solomon. And are there any other ones that have been released or?
I don't think there are any other ones out right now. We have like more, but yeah, and I would love to like work with him more. I feel like after the COVID thing happened, it was kind of like, okay, everybody's like kind of like doing their own thing right now, which was a huge thing for me for like the Cole3k stuff. But yeah, so definitely cool though. Yeah.
And have you worked with any other rappers at this point, or has it just been him so far?
I have a song out with his buddy Lonnie Terrell, who's like in his same crew.
Yeah.
So I have a song out with him. Um, I think that's it for now. But yeah, I want to keep working with more people, honestly. So
Oh
we'll
yeah.
see what the future holds.
So yeah, you started releasing the singles for Cole3k around the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was immediately pretty impressed with how they sounded. Like, were some of those early songs stuff that you've been working on for a long time, or had you been wanting to do this project for a while, or did you just make them and put them straight out?
Yeah, it was kind of, I have been like wanting to do, I don't know, I've had like a few different like projects and stuff like that. One of the big things for me was like figuring out a name for myself, because I didn't really want to just go by Cole Crawford. I don't know. I just wanted to have a artist name for whatever reason. And so when I don't know, I'd been brainstorming artist names and all that kind of stuff. And then I just was like, I'm just going to go by this. So I made like my Instagram page and Twitter and SoundCloud and all that kind of stuff. And that was probably in like January or something like that. And then I had started just, yeah, working with like Solomon and all them and just making more beats. Like that was the thing with working with Solomon, was I was just making so many beats. I was just trying to like crank out stuff like that. And so I think like just having more content was very important for me, because then I could just be like, okay, I'm gonna like start messing with this stuff. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't really have like a microphone and all that, so I was just kind of like singing into my laptop mic, and it didn't sound good, but I was like kind of like getting ideas down. And then I finally like bought a mic and everything, and then yeah, those first two songs that I put out on SoundCloud, they were like, I probably like recorded them in like early February, and I think I released them like very quickly. I just like put them out on SoundCloud at first, and I was just like, okay, I'm just putting these out. I went into like, I have been in like a couple of friends, like internet friends streams. They were streaming on Twitch, like beat making and stuff, and I was like posting them in there and stuff like that. And so that's how I kind of like got maybe a little bit of an initial audience. And so, yeah, it was kind of like, it was fun because it was like more spontaneous. I was just like making stuff, and then I just upload it and put it out. So yeah, that was definitely it at the beginning.
Oh yeah. No, and you mentioned putting those on SoundCloud, and something I wanted to kind of ask is I definitely spend way less time on SoundCloud than I did like 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So I was curious, like, is SoundCloud still like a pretty important platform for you and like people that are making like similar music?
I think SoundCloud is back like so hard this year,
Yeah.
like 2016 vibes of just like, I don't know, the kind of like hyperpop and glitchcore scene or whatever is just like living on there, because honestly, it's like it's a lot of like 15 and 16-year-old kids that can't afford to buy like distribution. So they're just like, okay, I'm just uploading this on SoundCloud. But I think like, yeah, and I was the same way. Like I was browsing SoundCloud a ton back in like, 2016, 2017, all that. And then it kind of like felt pretty dead for a while, but I think it's like very much alive. Like I probably spend most of my time listening to music on SoundCloud
Yeah.
these days. So I think I don't know. I don't think the platform itself is like great. I don't think it's very good for artists, and there's a lot of things wrong with it, but it's free. It's free to like upload your stuff on and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like the best that we have right now, I guess. If you don't have the means to like put your stuff on Spotify and Apple Music and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a great way to like discover music too. I've discovered so much stuff this year that I really, really like and get inspired by just on SoundCloud. So yeah.
Mm. No, yeah, because yeah, you kind of talked about it, like the kind of like what you would originally have called like SoundCloud rap, like the kind of like post trap, post cloud rap type stuff that was getting popular on there, and like the emo rap stuff.
Yeah.
Like over the past couple of years, you've definitely like seen a lot of those guys kind of level up and just go straight to streaming platforms with their stuff. But I guess it's kind of, yeah, left this kind of hole on the platform for like other
Yeah.
sounds to kind of become more popular and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. I agree.
Oh, yeah, and so yeah, did you um like, I don't know, what kind of goals and stuff did you have for yourself going into making Lovesick, and like, I don't know, have you been happy with how it turned out and reception and everything?
Yeah. I guess I'd been putting out singles and stuff like that. And I was just like, I don't know. I just wanted to put something like, I don't know. In my past, I feel like I've put together like decent projects and stuff like that, but I've never felt like I've had something that's come together and be like very cohesive and like has a goal. And so I wanted to do that with this. I wanted to put something together that felt like, okay, these songs like flow together, like sonically and like emotionally, all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like my goal, is just like make something that's cohesive and that sounds like it has flow, and people can like get emotionally involved with and can feel things with. Um, and so I feel like very good about it. It's like my favorite thing that I've ever put out. Um, and I don't know. It's funny because like as an artist, a lot of times you put out a song and then you're like a month later, you're like, man, I don't know if I really like this and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. Looking back on it, it's been, I guess, about a month since it came out. I think I I genuinely like all the songs that I made for it, and I don't know. I think it's great, and I've gotten like good reception. People seem to like it. Um, so I don't know. It's been really good, and I'm excited about it. I'm also excited about like the future. I've been I don't know. I've just been thinking about like kind of what I'm gonna do like going forward, and just like trying to figure out, oh, do I want to do another project or do I want to put out more singles again and stuff like that. And I've been working with my friend Esteban, who goes by AK Chrome. He's another artist that has really helped me progress this year. But we've been bouncing a lot of ideas off of each other because we have a very similar taste. And so I think I'm going to be working a lot with him as well. We already have like a few songs out that I've produced for him, and I have a couple features on a couple of his songs too. So I'll be working with him a lot, which has been really fun. Hopefully putting out, I don't know. I think I want to do some like, I think I want to just put out some like singles in the future, like maybe do like for the month of December, maybe do like one single a week or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but yeah, so I'm super happy with how Lovesick came out though, and people seem to like it. So it's
Oh
been good.
yeah. Oh yeah, and for like a first full project doing vocals, I think it sounded to me like you've been doing them for longer than a year, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
says anything.
It's been fun, and I've definitely, I feel like, the whole like COVID thing this year has really helped me kind of like develop my sound, just because I've been forced to like kind of stay inside and like do my own thing and just work. Like I've been able to just work on this stuff a lot, and so I feel like I have leveled up more than I would have normally. Like I don't know, at the beginning of the year, even lyrically and stuff like that, I feel like I've been able to just like make a lot of songs. Go like I've probably, I don't know, I can't tell you how many just kind of trash songs that I have on my computer of just like trying and failing. And that's really what it is just like making things that maybe aren't good, and then making like every fifth song, like you get something that's like, oh yeah, this is great. So I don't know, just having the ability to focus on that and like um, just put just like crank stuff out, I don't know, has been
Yeah.
really good. So yeah.
No, yeah. I think like beyond the obvious like downsides of COVID for like the music scene and everything, like, all these venues are struggling and there can't be live music and stuff. But I think beyond that, there are going to be some like really interesting things that come out of it just because people had so much like downtime and are probably trying things that they wouldn't have otherwise tried and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I hope, like, me and Esteban have been talking a lot about like post-COVID stuff, and like we really want to do shows together, and like I don't know, it is interesting because here in Kansas City, like we have a super sick like music community, and I don't know, I want to kind of bring in the like kind of like hyper pop and glitchcore stuff here, because I feel like there would be an audience for it, but I feel like it hasn't really developed as much here yet. And so I feel like, I don't know, when live shows start happening again and all that kind of stuff, I think it could be really fun um, to kind of like bring that here. And I think people would really like it, would really respond well to it. And I think in general, like, people will be very excited to be going to shows again and all that kind of stuff once this is all over. So I'm hoping for the best for sure.
No, yeah, and it is like I think specifically for the type of music you guys are making, like it's kind of funny. I think like, well, the kind of I wouldn't say like the face of it is like 100 gex, but like they are like pretty popular and important among the kind of that sound right now, and they've probably become like twice as popular as they were last year during this year, and they haven't been able to like tour on it. So like I don't know, maybe next year, they end up on their big tour finally, and acts like you guys are opening those shows, and I think there will be like a pretty immediate and like hungry audience for that type of stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I'm super excited to see what happens with all that, and it's been cool because I feel like that kind of like genre of hyperpop has expanded like so fast and so rapidly this year. Yeah, without live performances. So I think the fire will only be fueled by reopening of all that kind of stuff, live shows and everything. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned Esteban stuff. Big fan of the AK Chrome tracks so far, and if anyone has not heard the False Brother LP yet, that is also great. Esteban's playing guitar on that,
Yep.
and yeah. So I was kind of wondering. You mentioned all the stuff that you want to do with Cole3k coming up, but do you have like solid plans for future like Cousin Nancy stuff, or is that all like pretty like loose, like in its collaborations and stuff?
Yeah, we have a lot of like songs that we've done together. We're still, I don't know, we've obviously both been focusing more on our kind of like solo stuff, which is great. I think that's what we both want, is to like focus on our solo stuff and have the Cousin Nancy stuff be like, our collaborative kind of like secondary project. But lately we have been meeting up again. We kind of, I don't know, we took a break for a while just because he was finishing up his LP and I was trying to get a project together and all that kind of stuff. But we are working together again, and we are trying to like just get together some like kind of newer songs that we think people will like, and that we like. So we're actively working. We don't have any like specific plans to put anything out like right now, but we're working on it. I'm hoping we have something soon. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And I remember you also recently put out a single called Luck, and that features Young Skirt.
Yeah, Young Skirt.
And you seemed pretty excited to be working with him on that. Yeah, what excites you about his music, and what do you like about that song?
Yeah, he's kind of like one of my I guess kind of inspirations that I've been following for a while on just like social media and stuff. He's in LA. And he's the guy that he does a lot of like beat streams and stuff like that on Twitch. And so he kind of like put me on when I was first starting, and like really liked what I was doing, which I thought was super cool because I had been like really liking all of his music that he had been putting out, and he's just vocally one of the inspirations that I've had, and he's a super dope producer. So he kind of like, and he like uses the same software that I use. So I was always kind of like, oh, kind of like Big Brother vibes or whatever, of like, I'm seeing what you're doing, and what you're doing is really cool. And I'm kind of like wanting to get into that space a little bit. So I had recorded that Luck song. I had recorded like a verse and a chorus and stuff like that. And I just sent it to him over email. I was like, yo, would you want to like hop on this or something like that? And then like the next morning I looked in my email and he had like already done it. And I was like, this is sick. So I was pretty hyped about that. And he's kind of like in a little bit more of that, like he knows like 100 gex well, and like all those kind of people in LA. And so I don't know, he's a dope guy, super nice, and just like very good at music. So I was super hyped to work with him, and I hope to work with him again. Maybe I'll try to send him some beats or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, he's a dope guy. And
Yeah, I saw he's gotten some I don't remember exactly, but yeah, he has got some cool placements so
yeah,
far, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, he's tapped in with that scene, which I love, and so it's cool.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to plug or talk about real quick before we get going?
Trying to think. I mean, listen to Daniel Gum's new album,
Yes.
and listen to AK Chrome stuff. I'll be working with him, so we're trying to put out, I think I have a song with him that we're gonna try to release soon. So excited about that. Other than that, I don't think I have too much, but I'm very appreciative of everybody who's listened to my stuff and supported me and all that. So it's been a good year, and I'm hoping that next year will be even better.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and people can find you on streaming platforms and SoundCloud, and yeah,
Yeah.
what's all your social media and everything?
Yeah, my Instagram is just at Cole3k. My Twitter is at Cole_3k, and then all my SoundCloud and Spotify, Apple Music is just Cole3k, all under case. And yeah, you can find me on pretty much, I think, most streaming platforms. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh yeah, and people can follow at Shuttlecock Mag on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Shuttlecockmusic.com is the website. Shuttlecockmag.bigcartel.com is the web store. There's t-shirts, photo zines, and buttons. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. And yeah, thanks for being on this week, Cole. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it was my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. It was great talking to you.
Hell yeah.